So it gives me great pleasure to introduce to the stage Lara Dammer, Head of Department at the Nova Institute.
Thanks for the invitation to be here and for the introduction. Good morning. Thanks for being here so early and listening to the first talk of the day. We'll kick off the day with some rules and regulations, and I know everybody is excited about that. I'm talking today about the Green Claims Directive. I only have a few minutes, so this is going to be, might feel a little bit rushed. Feel free to come and speak to me afterwards if you have more questions about this or any other regulation you feel that might be coming up and be relevant. We have a booth in the back of the hall. My boss, Michael Karras, was here yesterday, and he already introduced a lot of the work that Nova is doing in terms of our concepts and our ideas. We provide a lot of data, and we do a lot of research on technologies, markets, and so on. But my specialty is actually policy, and I lead the Economy and Policy Department. We do a lot of policy screening, policy analysis, looking at how it enables or does not enable the renewable carbon economy, the green transition, sustainable development, however you want to call it. And we also do work a lot on standard certification labeling and on micro and macroeconomics. We regularly publish reports, for example, on the bioeconomy in Europe for the Bio-Based Industries Consortium and with other partners. One of the very, very recent topics, of course, which is also coming in, is the taxonomy and reporting under the CSRD. So as I mentioned, if you have any questions about any of the other topics, please also I'd be happy to talk to you in the back of the hall or anywhere you find me, maybe during coffee break. So today we talk about green claims, and actually it's about environmental claims. Green claims is the more popular title. And first of all, I want to have a look at the definition of an environmental claim, because it actually makes or breaks the whole thing, whether it falls under this definition or not. And it's actually a very, very broad and wide definition that the European Union has come up with. And it says that environmental claim might be any message in any form in the context of a commercial communication which states or implies that a product or trader has a positive or no impact on the environment or is less damaging, blah, blah, blah. And for me, this any message in any form, that's of course very broad, but also this it states or it implies, because that can actually mean a lot. Sometimes just changing the logo color from blue to green has a lot of impact on people suddenly thinking, oh, this is green. So it's the thing is, they wanted to cover as much as possible with that definition, obviously. But on the other hand, now it's really also kind of a grayish area, or let's call it green-grayish area, what means to imply anything. So, but this is the basis that we're talking about today when we talk about green claims. And the problem, of course, why this whole thing has been introduced and has been developed within or by the legislators is that it is a fact that environmental awareness among consumers is increasing, and that companies take advantage of that. And not all of them do that in a fair way. And there is a widespread proliferation of unclear claims or not well substantiated environmental claims, which are summarized as greenwashing often. And there have been quite a few studies and researches going on. And one done by the Commission itself in 2020 found that 53% of claims provide vague, misleading, or unfounded environmental information, and that 40% of claims are completely unsubstantiated. So these numbers are quite staggering. And I mean, here at this event, the focus is on consumer goods and brands. And I think you've all heard about cases of greenwashing. So I just picked a few examples. Walmart is in there, H&M is in there, Coca-Cola is in there for different things, for fashion, for textiles, for packaging, and so on. Specifically, the textile industry has been in focus a lot, also in terms of greenwashing. The JRC found that 39% of claims could be false or deceptive in the textile industry, and Greenpeace has also done some research. So it's really it's everywhere, I would say. And I think there is a lot of different motivations behind this. Sometimes it's strategy, sometimes it's a miscommunication among departments. We all know how it works in big companies. But there's also, of course, a strategy behind it in many, many cases. So the EU has decided to do something against that. And we already have different previous legislations. I have a much, much bigger presentation that where we could go also on the whole context, but today I will just focus really on this key piece of legislation. We are still not in a legislation stage. We are still in a proposal phase, as it's called in the EU. So the Commission has the right to propose new policies. They did so in March 2023 with the Green Claims Directive proposal. And one thing which is important to note already on this is that it only targets voluntary environmental claims. So anything else which is already covered by regulation, like the Eco-Design Directive, which is also being expanded quite a bit, or anything which is under the EU Eco-label, or anything which is under the battery regulation, the end-of-life vehicles regulation, so everything which is already regulated is not in the scope. This is really on voluntary claims that people make on their products to sell it better. It's important to memorize. And then we have three key parts of the legislation, which is substantiation, communication, and verification and certification. On all of these, I'm going to talk a little bit more now. In general, you need to substantiate any claim going forward. If this is going to be enacted, and it looks like it will be, then there will be no generic claims, no unsubstantiated claims anymore on products. And there's a whole list of things that need to be checked during the substantiation process. I just picked a few to show here. So for example, the assessment must specify if a claim relates to the whole product, part of a product, certain aspects of a product. Sometimes there's a recycling claim, and then if you look further, it's about 10% of the packaging is made from recycled plastics and nothing else, for example. So this must be specified more clearly in the future. The substantiation must rely on widely recognized scientific evidence, and LCA will probably be the method of choice in many, many, many cases, but it also states that it doesn't have to be a full LCA all the time. It really also depends on what is significant from a life cycle perspective. That's the next part. And that's also important because from other areas, we, for example, know these claims, something is gluten-free, which had never had any gluten. So any kinds of these bullshit claims, I might call them, they will also not be okay anymore, because being something it has never been is not a significant improvement from a life cycle perspective. And so there is also the interrelation with the method, of course, that you have to use. The product environmental footprint method is preferred by the Commission now as an LCA method, and this will also have a huge impact on the green claim substantiation. It can show that that the product performs significantly better than what is common practice. That's also another aspect that must be substantiated. And here, of course, we then get into the whole can of worms with defining common practice, finding proper benchmarking. Those of you that deal with LCA and these kinds of assessments every day know how difficult that is. But this is also going to be part of the whole green claims issue. So when you have substantiated your claim, you can communicate on it. And that is not defined very much in the green claims proposal so far. It just really says that it's only allowed to communicate what has been substantiated before. There should be information on the correct use and disposal if it's relevant. So if that makes a big difference, then the consumer should also get information on that. And one thing that is also in there is that the information on the product or the company and on the substantiation should be made available in a physical or digital form. And here we also have some interrelations, probably with the digital product passport, which is coming in from the Eco-Design for Sustainable Products regulation. And then the third point that I mentioned is verification and certification. Already we had a directive before, which is called the Empowering Consumers Directive. This is the basis, more or less, for all of this. It is already a de facto prohibition of self-declared claims and labels in the European Union. So anything that should be put on a product or is supposed to be put on a product will have to be certified and verified by a third party. Only accredited certification bodies will be allowed to do that. Now comes in a fun fact: every member state will be responsible separately for all the implementation and also for accrediting any kind of standards or certification bodies, sorry. But there are already EU-wide rules also for accreditation, so these will apply. They won't invent anything new on that. And also there will be a certificate of conformity be issued after the successful verification of the claim. This is then supposed to be put on an EU-wide database. So the plan is at least that any claim that has been substantiated and verified in any given member state will also be accepted in the rest of the member states. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how this is going to be implemented and applied. So, of course, that means additional effort in terms of time and money. The whole thing of substantiating, checking, but then also getting a third-party verification means a lot of additional steps. So I guess that also means that companies will really think about more what actually makes sense to be communicated on products, because now it's not just putting on a word or a logo or a label or anything. Now it's really about seeing what is significant and what do we actually want to spend that time and money on. Last but not least, the EU really wants to limit the amount of environmental labeling schemes. They call it limitation of proliferation, meaning this whole wild growth and jungle of labeling schemes is supposed to stop. From the date of the transposition of the directive, no new, sorry, there's a typo in the slides I just realized this morning, no new national or regional environmental labeling schemes shall be established by public authorities, so no of the member states. So no new public labeling schemes by member states or regions. The only one allowed to establish public labeling schemes will be the European Commission, which is also a strong push for the EU eco-label, obviously. Existing labeling schemes may continue to operate if they fulfill the quality requirements of the Green Claims Directive, and additional benefits must be demonstrated for new ones. So if third countries want to establish labeling schemes to be used on the union market, they must demonstrate additional benefits. It's a decision by the Commission whether that will be accepted. And private environmental labeling schemes that want to enter the market anew also will have to demonstrate additional benefits, and they will be checked by the member states. Additional benefits are also explained, but due to time, I will not go into that in too much detail. What's the timeline for all of this? We had discussions in the European Parliament and a vote on 12th of March. When I wrote this presentation, the Council was still deliberating. On 17th of June, now in the meantime, they actually adopted a position. So now the Parliament has a position, the Council has a position. They're going to go into trilogue negotiations in the coming months. Let's see how fast that will be. Also now, due to the elections, things will get shuffled around quite a bit, obviously. And then after adoption, member states have 24 months to transpose the directive into national laws. And the expected entry into force is then end of 2026 or beginning of 2027. What does it mean? What does it mean for you? What does it mean for the industry? Marketing products, due to their environmental friendliness, will become much more challenging. As I said, time and effort, substantiation, it's really going to be much more complex than before. There will be thorough assessments necessary. We saw the reference to the scientific state of the art. I know that not every company has that, but the directive also provides the options to use external expertise. So consultants, etc., may be asked to help. Even the certification schemes, by the way, might not have all the expertise that they need, and they are also able to take on external expertise. But this directive is not just additional work. For those companies that already make sure that they communicate correctly and don't do greenwashing, it will actually help to establish a level playing field, because now the others will also have to play by these rules. And I think it's important to notice that it's not just bureaucracy and additional rules, but it's also supposed to make life fairer. There's still a lot of unclarity about which wordings will be acceptable. So we did webinars, and then people tell me, okay, can I say this? Can I say this? And I say, well, in my interpretation, maybe, maybe not. It's really hard to say right now. So we also have to wait for a lot of clarification and additional guidance. And also, of course, there's going to be a potential patchwork of systems across the EU, since member states are in charge of implementation. Thank you very much for your attention, and I hope you have a lovely second day here.